Hey, you, welcome back to the channel. And guys, today we want to talk about Easy Social. Now, if you don't know what Easy Social is, it's yet the next social media site on the blockchain that has an upvote system where you make money off your content. Now, there are several social media sites that are quite popular over the blockchain. Now, of course, many of us tend to think about Steemit, which was pretty much the most successful one of them. And it was kind of first the kind of progenitor of many sites that came out of it. And so Easy Social, as I've pretty much been excited about this social network that testnet is now operating. I've been using it. Seems to be stable and work quite well, and that's a good thing. And so it's only a matter of time before the main net is ready and everything is launched. Now, what I find immediately different about Easy Social is that many of these somewhat successful social media sites are successful because many of them are like clones of Steemit, right? And so it's kind of maybe like that idea of, okay, well, if this works, you don't need to fix it. But at the same time, an argument could pretty much be raised. Well, if you already got a Steemit, why would you need copies of it and various things like that? And some would say, well, there are things that Steemit doesn't get right. So we're coming along. We're going to add some different features here and there. And so what I like about Easy Social immediately is that Easy Social is not a clone of the sites. It brings a new style platform and very much new ideas compared to other of these social media sites on the blockchain. So, for instance, obviously we can see that it's not laid out like Steemit. It is quite different. But even what I find even more important than that is that one big issue I think what has been with like let's say like a Steemit based model and the ones that use these models is they aren't very easy to use, right? It's kind of this learning curve and for people to use it. And then once you join Steemit.com, the main most important component of it being Steemit.com, which I guess you could say is more like a Reddit or a blogger site. The issue that I think comes about with that, and it's several, but I think one of the main issues is that so if you want to be a social media site that's going for a great amount of users, right? Good amount, and I'm assuming that that's what you're looking for because social media it does better when it has a good growth rate, right? And immediately right there, I feel like there's a great limitation on what you're getting with sites that are looking for let's say professional writers because at the end of the day how many people are bloggers and pro writers. So if you just want a site for bloggers, I think that's going to limit your ability to grow right there, right? Because many of these people coming into the space, they aren't going to be able to do that. Now, what's great about Easy Social is Easy Social works more like just a standard social media network, right? You're making relationships. People upvote you who you have these social capital relationships with, and they decide based on their own ideas and mirrors what should be upvoted and what should not. There isn't some type of judge or some type of idealist about what qualifies as quality content. And here's the problem with when you go down that road of saying, oh, well, this qualifies as good content, this doesn't, thus we should upvote this or downvote this. Here's the issue. Let's just say that you do upvote a post and it's a well-written post and it receives X amount of dollars that the community feels is appropriate for that. What happens when someone does equal like writings and blogging and they have qualified in that same area as quality content, but they don't get the upvotes, right? They get a 90% less or even 99% less than the people who are said to qualify as good content. So what that means is you've created this inconsistent model, right? And if you create an inconsistent model in that way, then it becomes not very, it's not as important or as substantial to uphold that form of or system to say this deserves this or that deserves that, because then posts that deserve in the direction you're going, they're not getting it. So how's that working? It's more or less working like well, you kind of like just kind of like do as we say, and this is how we would like it to go. But then if you don't get upvoted and you do the same quality content, that's too bad. That's that's your mistake, or you need to wait, or you need to be patient. It's just not a very efficient way to try to rate quality and content versus bad content in that regard. Now, here's what I think is more important to not only growing your networks in social media, but keeping people involved and interested. And that is, to give a kind of Facebook comparison, you have your friends list on Facebook. Whatever you post or whatever you think is important enough to post or interesting to someone or valuable to someone or your friends or whatnot, within that group, generally the people who like what you're doing, they're going to follow you and they're going to upvote you based on their own assessment and desires as to what they feel is valuable to them. It's not, some guy coming up has happened many times on sites like Steemit saying, well, you didn't write enough, or you can't write, or various things like that. Well, probably 90% of the population can't write, right? So you've already greatly limited, who's going to be using your network and who's going to want to use your network. Easy Social doesn't really focus on all that. Easy Social, more or less, works, I think, how a social media site should work, and that is dealing with the community you're embarked with, you're engaged with, and how they see your level of importance. It's not this one rule written in stone that says you need to be Ernest Hemingway. I just don't think that will work great for a large, potentially growing social network. And I think at the end of the day, when you start a social media network, it's not started to go, well, we want to just keep this very contained and niche. I mean, it can be that, but again, with the cryptocurrency space being so small as it is, and there already being competition in several areas like that, it just doesn't seem to me that would be the best approach, right? Somebody just coming up with an idea of what is quality content, but not being consistent in the determination and the curation of that. And I just don't think that ever's going to work quite well. And so Easy Social focuses on the community. Another thing great about Easy Social is Easy Social, if we take sites like going back to Steemit.com, we got to kind of pick on Steemit because, they're pretty much number one with these social media networks, but, but not without their problems, dozens of problems. And that's why so many social networks are being created now, due to the fact that they're trying to solve many of these problems. So, I think one problem initially with Steemit was that it came in as being a platform that was meant to be this skeletal structure where people would build upon it. Excuse me, I'm doing mic drops too early, but it was supposed to be this skeletal structure that people would come on and build upon the platform. And I think that's great. Those are great ideas down the road to do. But would it have been much easier, you think, if Steemit would have just came in building many of these platforms themselves to run on the Steem blockchain, right? Now, if we cut back to Easy Social, this is another reason why I like Easy Social so much. Seemingly in the first stage of this, what Easy Social's doing is they are basically building several networks, right? Several tokens. And they're not only building them because they have an exchange, a decentralized exchange as well. Each one of these different systems they're building will run on their own token. Now you might go, well, why would that be necessary to run on your own token? Well, let's go back and look at this example of what we're getting with, or the idea of what was behind Steemit. So much of the idea that was behind Steemit was that when you would create dApps on Steemit, they would still run on the Steem token, right? And so your token would still be affected by whatever happened on Steemit.inc, which was the bloggers platform, and whatever happened on Steepshot, which is like their version of Instagram, right? Or whatever happened on the meme site, was it D-Mania, or and countless apps that they've created to run on this, but they're still run on the Steem token, right? And it's still, you still got to come through the get registered with a Steem account, and so it really doesn't allow you to gauge which system is more effective, right, and which works best. So because you can't see, because it's all being calculated in the value of Steem, and so whether you're on Steemit.com or whether you're on Steepshot, it would be interesting if they were their own tokens, because then you can kind of see which one works better, which one is more widely accepted by the public. And so Easy Social does that, and I think that work's going to work a lot better for them down the road. In addition to that, if you earn certain tokens within their system, I believe it's like the PB token, you get so many splits from many of these other tokens they've created, but it still allows them to gauge the value of each one of their projects that they themselves have built. So they didn't wait around for some developer to come up and him to try to get funding to build something, or didn't have the funding and just try to build it anyway, out of his own resources or whatnot. But they have taken the initial steps of building many of these projects to run within their system. So those are some significant differences that I like about Easy Social, and why I think it's going to make a lot more sense to especially the average user, right? Another thing, very easy to register with Easy Social, and that makes it things a whole lot easier to vote with it. Another thing Some other very good things I think about Easy Social is you got unlimited upvotes, right? So you're not reserving and going, oh, I can't, even though I find this person's content great, I can't upvote him because it's going to drain my it's going to drain my voting power. And so I'm going to, even though I want to upvote and curate across the network quality content, I'm unable to do that because my voting power is so low. I want to be able to upvote a friend. I want to be able to upvote myself. I want to be able to, forgive this word, but participate in my circle jerk community. And I'm not going to be able to do that because I'm limited by my upvotes and upvote power. Now, also very good about Easy Social is that Easy Social, looking at the white paper, and if I understand this correct 100%, Easy Social locks up every amount earned on your post in Easy Social stake. So it's 100%. It's not like on the other sites where you get 50% liquid and that. So it all goes there. Then you have to power it down over a period of time. But what's great about it is that your curation rewards, right? They are liquid. And so when you get curation rewards, it's liquid. It is, so that's all liquid, as if I understand it correctly. And so that means you're more encouraged to participate in curation. Another issue I've always found with many of these Steemit clones and Steemit itself is that that during the curation process, I wasn't quite sure what incentivized people to upvote other people's content. And, if it was enough incentive, right? So I know the general idea is that, oh, you're supposed to just come in and love the community right off the bat. And that's the only thing you should focus on or be interested in. And you should put that first. And I understand that. But here's the problem. Let's go back now and look at Facebook, right? And so, what do you want to say? People love Facebook or not? What is clear? Most people still use Facebook, right? And where your time is and where your usership is generally where your interests are and where you find value at. The issue is that took Facebook several dozen years to get to that point, right? They had to earn you loving the platform coming in. You don't come in necessarily and just love the platform from the beginning. They earned that, right? Building up years and years and years at the college campuses, beating out MySpace and doing all these things. And with a lot of funding from venture capitalists, a lot of money coming in, all of that stuff. It all had to be earned. And so when we're using these social media platforms, they want you to love these things, but more than likely, people aren't going to come in with that mindset from the beginning. They're going to come in with a mindset of, am I incentivized for what I'm doing here? And so with curation, I see very more or less a less incentive to curate someone else's post, which is probably why most of the time this distribution is bad and people are generally just voting for their friends and just people they know or like specifically, and more about that than based on the content. So if it's going to be more about that than based on the content, why not just skip based on the content altogether and go for the social capital relationships? That's what I think would make more sense. But, again, going back to Easy Social, which makes sense to me, if you're making the curation rewards liquidable faster than money going into your post, well, yeah, it's going to be a little bit more incentive there because you're going to be receiving faster liquidity curating, right? So, if I understand what's in the white paper about that correctly, If I said something incorrect about that, please feel free to correct me on that. But I'm pretty sure that's how it works, and that's the general idea behind it. And so this is why I like this platform, Easy Social. I think it cuts right to the point. It makes it simple for people. Again, if your idea about these social media platforms is go on this idea of just quality content, and don't get me wrong, you know, I'm not saying, obviously spam shouldn't be upvoted. That should, be downvoted or eliminated or whatever the case may be. But what you find quality content, is to try to create this general rule about it. That maybe when you write something, it should be so many paragraphs. I hear a lot of times people say, oh, well, if you could just write a little bit more, right? Or you can do this. I think what we're getting, how it's shaping up and how it's turned out, is we're getting more of a social capital. And if you don't know what I mean by social capital, that's when your actual relationships in real life or through social media create value within themselves, right? My friend Joe over here, he likes me, I like him. More likely I'm going to upvote his post based on that and not the quality of his content, right? And, obviously you got purists that maybe stick to that, just quality content, let the quality rise to the top and that. And there's people like that, and they stick to that. But more than likely, you're going to have me liking Katie, me liking Vincent. And what that's going to do is cause me to upvote their content less about its quality and more about our particular social capital relationships. And so in my theory, you accept that, as a more constant, which I would argue it is. If you accept it and you go on with that, right? And because statistically, I think that's what it's going to end up being most of the time. If that weren't the case, then all quality content would be in a comparable value system, right? And so I think where Easy Social's focus on is going to resonate better with social media users across the blockchain. And that's why personally, I think it's going to do better than many of these other social media blockchain sites. In my opinion, based on that simplicity and, and based on the importance of our relationships, just like any social media site that's done well, right? And people post what they think is important. It is important and valuable to someone within their particular group, right? And not meant to be criticized by outsiders, which it can be, but how can you criticize what other people find valuable within their own groups? That would be like me criticizing the culture of people because I'm part of another culture and saying, well, look, your culture's stupid, is dumb because it doesn't work like mine. The value systems are different. Thus, because my value systems are different from yours, then your value system is wrong, right? So, that's just my take on it, guys. Feel free to give me your comments about, how you feel about how these social media spaces work. Look out for Easy Social. They are in the test net. You can sign up and get accustomed to using it, get your foothold going very well in it. Go ahead and make some friends. The mainnet launches, you'll have the community already aware of your content. You'll be early in. They're also conducting a ICO. And so that's a good chance to come in, get some early stake, and you'll be able to participate and share with your friends and community and followers, various things like that. But guys, that's all I want to say about Easy Social, a great site. If you like content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe. And until next time, guys, take care.